Is this my setup? Okay, let's just go with this and hope I know what I'm doing, she says while fidgeting with her boobs. Hi guys, I'm Shelley. Welcome back to my channel and a Hormone Diaries. I haven't done one of these in a year. I haven't done a lot of things in a year. I'm so good at this, aren't I? Right. This is the Hormone Diaries. This is a series that Hannah Witten made up about all things contraception and sexual health and just womb related nonsense. I mean, that pretty much covers it. Yeah. I decided to follow her lead, I think almost 5 years ago now, and start documenting my journey with my womb. I have a very stroppy womb, and I started documenting what was happening with it and also what was happening around the world with period health and everything else. And yeah, I haven't talked about anything for a year. Reasons why? Everything went to hell! If you have seen one of my previous videos, which I will link here then everywhere, my health has been in the pits. I went through a massive relapse. I'm still in the relapse. I'm just a little bit more stable now, stable enough to actually possibly form a video about the Hormone Diaries and tell you guys what's been going on, because there's been a lot in a year. So when I last talked about the womb side of my health, I had just had an implant put in. But back here. Hi, editing Shelley here. Just realised she never actually made that video in December 2020 about having an implant put in, because of reasons that I go on about in a minute. So basically, short version, I had an implant put in to help with endo in December 2020 and forgot to tell anybody about it because I'm that clever. God knows where that footage went. I mean, really. Back to the video. Congratulations, Shelley, you're a dingbat. A contraceptive implant to help with endo, because I have endometriosis and endometrioma, which is a cyst on one of my ovaries, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. Because my womb wanted to have all of the things wrong with it. It couldn't possibly be nice to me, could it? No. That was December of 2020. Yes. All of those years ago. And that was to hopefully control endo, because I had recently had a scan and found that my endometriosis had, it spread to pretty much all of my womb, the deep lining of my womb, and was getting really, really close to my bowel and my bladder, which were causing other issues. So we were going to try the implant to slow the growth down and possibly make it shrink. And it was supposed to help ease off bleeding, and it was supposed to help with the endo pain. Okay. It did not go to plan. When does anything go to plan? It did go to plan in the sense of it killed some of the pain and it shrunk some of the endo. I had it put in December. The main side effects I were told were a dip in mood, weight gain and acne. I managed to dodge the acne and the weight gain, but man, did my mood take a battering. I have PMDD, premenstrual dissociative disorder. Try saying that 10 times fast. I feel like I dissociated. I just wasn't here for most of December, January and February. Like, I can remember odd days and I see photos of me back then, but I don't remember anything. Nothing. And yeah, I was really quite Fruit Loopy. But the pain did ease, but the periods did not. In fact, the periods amped up. Now, I was told that the first 4 months of the implant could be dodgy. You know, it could take up to 4 months for the implant to start working properly, for the bleeding to ease off so that you had just a bit of bleeding, or just a normal, like, 5-day period, or normal, who knows, the average 5 to 7 day period that the world says is average, but nobody's ever seen it. 4 months in, 4 months in, I was bleeding about 3 weeks out of every month. I'd get a week off or the odd day off here and there, but the bleeding had just increased, but the pain had decreased. So I didn't really, like, I was like, okay, I can live with this for a while because I'm no longer in screaming amounts of pain in my uterus. Thanks. Okay, I'm bleeding a lot and that makes life extremely difficult. But it's not as bad as the pain, so I'll take it. But about February, March this year, I was offered my first COVID jab, my first vaccine, and went ahead and had it, and I documented that on here. And I knew at the time that the COVID jab or the vaccine was linked to women having heavier periods for a while. It was linked to weird things happening with wombs. There was women coming out who had already had hysterectomies, had the vaccine, just went, oh, I think I'm going to be on my period. It was giving women weird sensations, and it was making periods heavier. Having just had the implant put in, I knew everything was going to get weird. What I didn't know is how bad it was going to get, which is that I started continually bleeding and it didn't stop. And I'm not talking like light bleeding, I'm talking very, very, very heavy, going through 2 or 3 pads in an hour, and there's the night pads, sanitary pads, flooding at night and having to change my bedding. I just went nuts, basically, and I was worried because I'd had the 4 months now, and the jab wasn't really being told that it was supposed to do this much damage. So I contacted my doctor, who said that if I'd been continually bleeding for 6 weeks, they could do something, and what they could do was give me a pill. I'm just like, well, that's not an option for me because I have gastroparesis, which is a stomach problem, which means I can't take tablets successfully. And at the same time, my gastroparesis flared up to the point where I couldn't keep food down. I was getting really, really sick, and then it was time to have my second jab, which I dutifully went ahead and had because the vaccine is a good thing. The vaccine is helping save people or protect people from COVID. I wanted to have it. I didn't know what damage it was doing. Unfortunately, it did a lot of damage to me, and it damaged my heart and it damaged my stomach, and with the continual periods as well, that put too much stress on my body, and I got really sick. And it got really, really scary, and the period kind of got pushed back out of the way. So I dropped it and I left it alone for a while, and then as I started to get stronger, I'm just like, no, this period is still going. I've been continually bleeding since May. I contacted the doctor again, and we went through multiple different options of going on the pill, which I tried. I did actually try it. She asked me, can you just give it a go? I gave it a go. It interacted with my heart badly so much that I took 1 tablet, which was about, I think it was 15 micrograms mg, and my heart rate jumped to 132 resting. Heart problems and the pill are something you shouldn't play with, and we took a gamble and it didn't pay off, so I was sent emergency back to the endo clinic, because obviously I've been continually bleeding since May. It's very, very heavy. I'm very, very weak. I've lost weight instead of gained weight. They say when you put an implant in, you gain weight. Not by trying, you're not eating more, you just gain it because it's a hormone thing. I dropped it. So I dropped 2 stone. And that's just not, good. So I got sent back to multiple doctors multiple times. I mean, I've seen like 3 endo doctors, I think, in the last year who don't know what to do with me, because they can't just give me the pill. So I finally saw one a few weeks ago who was a dream of a doctor, because I walked into her appointment room scared because I didn't know what to do anymore. I've been bleeding so heavily, it's been making me so ill. And she's not the first person to take me seriously, because I've had other endo doctors who have been lovely, but she was the first person to take me seriously enough to do the drastic things if I want them. Basically she scanned me and said, well, I can't see anything wrong with you. The lining of your womb's fine. I can't see any cancer, because there was also that worry, obviously, because I'd had a cancer scare in the past with my smear test. So I can't see any of this, but you are obviously in trouble. You're losing way too much blood. You're obviously very ill. You're 35 years old now. Do you want kids? And I'm just like, okay, I've been trying to explain this to doctors for years. I don't want kids. I'm not in a health position to have kids. Maybe if my life had gone differently, yeah, sure. But you look at the track record of my life, kids would be a very bad idea. I have nieces and I have a nephew and I love them and they are squishy and adorable, but I don't want my own. I can't look after a child properly. And she actually took this seriously. And she gave me 3 options. She gave me the option of a coil, which has notoriously gone very, very bad in the past. But she was so kind and so nice and explained why she thinks it went wrong. She thinks it was placed wrong. She thinks it was placed under the wrong circumstances. I wasn't given pain options at all when it was placed. So that was one option. The second option was to burn the lining of my womb, which would again stop the periods. But with that, there's a bigger risk because the lining grows back. And so they don't usually do that for women who are under like 40, 45 because of the menopause. Mine might grow back before I hit menopause. So that was just like pushing the problem down the line. Or there was the option of a hysterectomy, which I have been gunning for a long time. But she actually put that option on the table and didn't patronise me going, well, you might want children one day. So I loved this doctor. There was a lot of pent up, scared emotion going on. And obviously somebody says surgery to me, I reel back and get scared. And I couldn't make a decision there and then on the spot. So she signed me up for a coil under surgery circumstances, which is that I will be given a pain relief of my choice on the day. I can have a local anaesthetic and I think that might work on me. And it will be done while a camera is also inserted and checked that the coil is in the right placing, checked that there's nothing else wrong. Because the last time I had a coil, I've made a video about that before and I will link that down below. It was atrociously badly done. Left me with so much trauma. I mean, not just physical trauma, there's a lot of emotional trauma from having that coil, having something inserted in me that caused so much pain, and I have never really come to terms with that or dealt with that properly in a healthy way, and I'm about to put myself up to do it again. So the coil is the temporary option and the hopeful option that it stops the bleeding. If it does, then hopefully that'll be it. Hopefully I will not need anything else. Obviously coil will have to be replaced and an implant would have to be replaced over time. But that is the hope. And if that doesn't work, because there is a chance it won't work. I've had a coil in the past and it didn't work. It had to come out after 3 days and it was an horrendous 3 days. And bearing in mind I was a lot stronger then. I didn't have a heart condition, my gastroparesis wasn't bad, my EDS wasn't bad. And I couldn't cope with that amount of pain. So the idea of that happening again now frightens the hell out of me. I trust this doctor, but it frightens me. The knowledge that if it doesn't work, I'm going to be in a lot worse position. And then it's going to be a hysterectomy, is basically the next option. The lining of the womb isn't really an option because it would just push it down the line 15 years and we just have to do all this again in a much worse condition, so there's no point doing that. So the knowledge that if this doesn't work, then I'm having a hysterectomy. It takes 8 weeks for a normal human to get over a hysterectomy. For me, petrified. I'm also petrified of the consequences of my choices on everybody else in my family. Over the last year my family have been looking after me because I've been so ill, and that has had a knock-on effect onto them. And the thought that I am consciously putting myself in a position where I'm going to need looking after again if I have a hysterectomy or if the coil goes wrong. I can deal with what's going to happen to me. What's going to happen to me is inevitable and I can't change that. But the fact that I'm then passing that on to other people doesn't sit right. I don't want to have to ask them to do it again. I don't know how to not ask them, because if I don't have these surgeries or if I don't have a coil put in, I'm going to end up asking them to look after me again anyway because I'm going to get so sick. So I'm in a very emotionally unstable place right now talking about this because there's no easy way out. There's no easy option. The easy option was the implant. It didn't work. It worked to an extent. It killed the pain. It made the bleeding worse, which has now caused so many other issues in my body. My body is drained. My stomach is not functioning. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm gaining it back a bit, but not a lot. So that is what's happened over the last year. I'm now in a waiting game for a coil to be put in at the hospital, and that could take up to 8 weeks, so we're talking like New Year's possibly. That's what's been happening behind everything, and it's a lot. Yes, I would be really interested to find out about other people's reaction to periods and the vaccine. So if you've had a strange reaction to the vaccine and your periods, please tell me below, because I'd just be interested in how everybody else's reactions were to vaccines and periods. But yeah, this was an Emotional Hormone Diaries. I will from now on try to keep an actual diary of the process of having a coil put in. I hope you guys are good. Congratulations if you made it to the end of this video, because I've rambled like hell. Yeah. I will hopefully see you soon with a uterus that doesn't hate me. Okay, bye. It's fine, everything's fine. I tried to make this video multiple times and it's just, I can't get through it without just breaking or... I used to make these videos on caffeine, so they used to make a lot more sense. I can no longer drink caffeine, so I make no sense anymore. Thank you. Good night.